"We're not coming to your wedding because he's black." My mother said it like she was doing me a favor. No trembling voice, no apology, no awkward pause. Just that calm, careful tone she used when she wanted something to sound like fact instead of cruelty. We were in her kitchen, the same spotless kitchen where she used to correct the way I held my fork, the same room where she taught me to smile when I was embarrassed and call it grace. I had the invitation in my hand, thick paper, cream, gold ink. I picked it like paper could soften people. My father didn't even look at it. He sat at the table with his coffee and that familiar expression, like the world was always slightly disappointing him. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Marcus is my fiancé," I said. "He's not a phase. He's not some decision I made to upset you. He's the man I'm marrying." My mother didn't move. "We're not doing this," she said. My stomach dropped. Doing what? She finally reached over and took the invitation between two fingers like it might stain her. She read the names again, then set it down like it was trash. "You're going to stand up in front of our family, our friends, our church, and do that," she said. "You're going to make us sit there while people stare." I blinked. People stare at weddings. My father finally looked up. "Don't be cute," he said. "You know what this is." I felt heat rise in my face. "What this is," I said, "is me getting married." My mother's mouth tightened. "No," she said. "This is you making a point." I stared at her. "My wedding is a point," I repeated. My father sighed like I was exhausting. "It's about reputation," he said. "It's about what we stand for." "What you stand for," I said. My mother lifted her chin. "We didn't raise you to throw your life away," she said. There it was. The script. The one where I was always one wrong choice away from disaster, and they were always the victims of my stubbornness. I swallowed hard. "I'm not throwing my life away," I said. "I'm choosing it." My mother's eyes went cold. "We're not coming," she said, "because he's black." Again. Like she wanted it to land clean. Like naming it made it justified. My chest felt tight. I looked at my father. "And you agree with that?" He didn't flinch. "It's not about hate," he said. "It's about reality." Reality. He said it like Marcus was a storm system, like I was marrying weather. My throat burned. "His name is Marcus," I said. "He's a person. He's kind. He's smart. He treats me better than anyone ever has." My mother gave a small, tight smile. "You always exaggerate," she said. That was the moment it hit me. Not just that they didn't want to attend, that they didn't even want my happiness to be real. My father set his coffee down. "You can do what you want," he said. "You're an adult, but we won't be part of it." My mother added, "And don't you dare tell people we were invited. Don't embarrass us." I stared at her. "You're worried about being embarrassed," I said, my voice shaking now, "while you're refusing your daughter's wedding." She shrugged, like embarrassment was the only currency she understood. I stood up so quickly my chair scraped the floor. My mother's eyes narrowed. "Don't make a scene," she snapped. I laughed once. It sounded broken. "A scene," I repeated. "In your kitchen." My father's jaw tightened. "You'll come back," he said. "They always come back, when reality hits." My mother nodded like he'd just delivered a moral lesson. "You'll be sorry," she said, "and we'll still be here." I stared at them, and for a second I felt like I was watching a documentary about strangers. Then I picked up the invitation. Not because I needed it, because I didn't want it sitting on their table like a trophy. I walked to the door. My mother called after me, "Lauren." I turned. She softened her voice just a little. That manufactured concern she used when she wanted to sound reasonable. "Don't do something you can't undo," she said. I looked at her. "You already did," I said. Then I left. If you've ever had someone you love turn your life into a problem to be managed, hit like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments if you've ever had to choose peace over permission. I wish I could tell you that was the worst part. It wasn't. I drove straight to Marcus. He opened the door before I even knocked, like he'd felt something coming. "What happened?" he asked. I tried to speak, and my voice cracked. "They said they're not coming," I whispered. "Because you're black." I watched his face. Not because I doubted him, because I needed to see how much it would hurt. His jaw tightened. His eyes went distant for half a second. Then he nodded once. "Okay," he said. "Just okay. No rage. No demand I cut them off. No prideful speech. Just that quiet acceptance that told me he'd met people like my parents before. And somehow that made me feel worse. "I'm sorry," I said. He shook his head. "Don't apologize for them," he said. "Don't carry their shame." I sat on his couch and stared at my hands like I could keep them from shaking by looking hard enough. Marcus sat beside me, close but not crowding. "Do you still want to marry me?" he asked, gently. I snapped my head up. "Of course," I said. "This isn't about that." He nodded. "I know," he said. "I'm asking because I won't let them turn our life into a tug of war." My eyes filled. I hated that he had to say it out loud. "I want to marry you," I said, slower now, "and I want to do it without begging anyone to show up." He took my hand. "Then we do it our way," he said. "No audition." We didn't cancel. We didn't postpone. We didn't soften it into something palatable for the people who were already committed to misunderstanding. We planned a wedding that felt like us. Warm. Elegant. My friends showed up like family. The kind of friends you earn when you've been the reliable one for too long. Marcus's family flew in from out of state. His mom hugged me so hard my ribs hurt. "Baby," she said, voice thick, "I'm here. You're not alone." I had to turn my face away because I could feel myself cracking. My mother had never said that to me. Not once. Not in a way that felt unconditional. We didn't make speeches about my parents. We didn't turn the ceremony into a statement. We just got married. Marcus looked at me like I was the only person in the room. When he said his vows, his voice didn't shake. It didn't need to. It was steady like a promise he'd already been keeping. When I said mine, I felt my own spine lock into place. I wasn't asking anyone to accept me anymore. I was choosing a life. After the ceremony, my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. I didn't open it right away. I knew it wouldn't be love. Later, when the dancing started and my friends were laughing, and Marcus's cousins were already arguing about music like normal people do, I checked it. "I hope you're happy with your choices, nothing else." Not "I love you." Not congratulations. Just that familiar little blade. I showed Marcus. He looked at it, then handed my phone back. "She's trying to keep a hook in you," he said. I swallowed. "It worked for years," I admitted. He nodded. "Not anymore," he said. For a while, the silence from my parents felt like relief. No snide comments. No guilt trips. No surprise calls that ended in me feeling 12 again. But then the smear started. It didn't start with a direct attack. My mother was too careful for that. It started with concern. A woman from their church messaged me on social media. "Hey, sweetheart. I'm praying for you. Your mom says you've been going through a tough season. If you need guidance, we're here." Tough season. Guidance. Like marrying the man I loved was a breakdown. I didn't reply. 2 days later, another message. "I heard you've been isolating. I hope you're safe." Safe, that word hit like a slap. Marcus read it over my shoulder and his face went still. "That's not accidental," he said. I knew it wasn't. My mother was planting something. A narrative. A version of me that made her refusal look like concern instead of prejudice. Then my aunt called. Not to congratulate me, not to ask how I was, to warn me. "Your mother's worried," she said. I laughed once, sharp. "Is she?" "She says you're being manipulated," my aunt continued. "She says Marcus is controlling." I felt my blood run cold. Controlling. That word wasn't just gossip. It was an accusation with a shadow behind it. The kind that got whispered into people's ears to justify cruelty. "I'm not being manipulated," I said. "I'm married." My aunt sighed like I was stubborn. "You know how it looks," she said. There it was again. Looks, reputation, my parents' religion. I hung up. The next week, the sabotage got practical. We had a vendor meeting for the small reception dinner we were hosting for out-of-town guests. Just a quiet night, nothing dramatic. The venue called me, sounding confused. "Hi, Lauren," the manager said. "We received a call from a woman claiming to be your mother. She said there was a family emergency and you needed to cancel." My stomach dropped. "What?" I said. "She sounded very convincing," the manager said, "but we didn't cancel anything. We wanted to confirm with you." My hands shook. Not from fear, from rage. "That wasn't authorized," I said. "Do not take instructions from anyone but me." "Understood," the manager said carefully. "Would you like us to flag the account?" "Yes," I said. When I hung up, I stared at the wall. Marcus came into the room. "What is it?" he asked. I told him. His jaw tightened. "They're trying to control your life from outside it," he said. I nodded. "They're trying to punish me without looking like villains." Marcus's voice stayed calm, but there was steel under it. "Then we stop treating them like parents," he said. "We treat them like outsiders interfering with our household." That sentence landed hard, because it was true. A few days later, my florist emailed me. "Hi, Lauren. Your mother stopped by the shop today. She said she wanted to pay for an upgrade as a surprise. Please confirm." I stared at the email like it was written in another language. Pay for an upgrade. A surprise. My mother hadn't even attended the wedding, but now she wanted her fingerprints on it. Ownership after the fact. I replied immediately. "No, do not accept anything from her. She is not authorized. Please block her." The florist replied with a short, polite message, but I could feel the judgment in the silence between the lines. Family drama. It always makes people assume both sides are equally messy, but this wasn't messy. This was deliberate. Ethan was the only one who still spoke to me like I wasn't a cautionary tale. My younger brother had always been the soft one, the peacekeeper, the one who learned early that staying neutral meant staying safe. He called a month after the wedding. "Lauren," he said, voice low, "Mom's been telling people things." "I know," I said. He hesitated. "She says she's worried about you." I laughed without humor. "She's worried about how my life makes her look." Ethan didn't argue. That told me everything. "Are you okay?" he asked, quietly. I softened just a fraction. "I'm okay," I said. "I'm happy. Marcus is good to me. I'm not trapped. I'm not being controlled. I'm just done." Ethan swallowed. "They're not going to let it go," he said. "I know," I told him. After I hung up, I sat on the couch and stared at the ceiling. This was the part no one talks about. When you choose peace, people who thrive on control don't just get sad. They get strategic. Marcus didn't push me to confront them. He didn't push me to forgive them either. He just said, "We protect our life. That's it." So we protected it. We locked down vendors. We made accounts password protected. We stopped giving out details. And we lived. The first time I posted anything that looked like luxury, I didn't do it to provoke anyone. We were on a yacht in Europe. Not the crowded party kind. A medium-sized yacht with quiet decks and ocean air that made you feel like you could breathe again. Marcus and I were leaning on the railing at sunset. The sky was on fire. He kissed my temple. I snapped a photo, not of our faces, just our hands. My ring catching the light, the ocean behind it, caption, peace. That was it. The next day, Marcus's acquaintance dropped off a car for us to use. He didn't tell me what it was until we walked up to it. It was a limited edition Ferrari, deep red, low and sharp and ridiculous. I stopped in the street like my feet forgot how to move. "Marcus," I said, half laughing, half horrified, "what is this?" He smiled, that quiet smile that meant he'd planned something carefully. "It belongs to Alex," he said. "I've ordered one, but it's not arriving until later this year, and I wanted you to feel it now." "Feel it," I repeated, breathless. He nodded. "I wanted you to have one day where you don't hear their voices," he said. One day where you're just you, no shrinking. I slid into the driver's seat like I didn't belong in it. Then Marcus handed me the keys. Drive, he said. My hands shook on the steering wheel. Not fear, freedom. We cruised along the Amalfi Coast with the windows down and the ocean beside us like a witness. At one point, I laughed so hard I had to pull over because I couldn't see straight. Marcus reached over and squeezed my knee. Look at you, he said. I took a photo later. Just the car by the marina. No badge. No caption about price. Just the curve of the hood and the water behind it. Caption, alive. I didn't think about my parents at all. Then my phone lit up at 3 a.m. Ethan, are you on a yacht? I stared at it, confused and sleepy. Then another message. Is that a Ferrari SP3? Then another. Lauren, Mom is freaking out. My stomach tightened. I sat up in bed, suddenly fully awake. How does she know? Ethan sent a screenshot. A family group chat I hadn't been in since I left home. My mother had typed, I don't understand why she's doing this. My father, she's trying to shame us. My mother, she wants to make us look bad. My father, she'll be back. They always come back. Ethan, or maybe she's just living her life. My mother, don't take her side. My father, she'll learn. My hands went cold. They'd been sitting around predicting my misery like it was entertainment. And now they were furious because I wasn't performing it. Ethan texted again. They didn't expect this. I stared at the words. They didn't expect me to be okay. They expected consequences for disobedience. They expected the world to punish me for marrying Marcus so they could say, see, we warned you. And instead I was on a cruise, laughing, driving a Ferrari, and living a life that didn't include them at all. Ethan called the next day. They're shocked, he said, voice tight, like they can't process it. They don't have to process it, I said. It's not for them. He hesitated. Lauren, he said, Mom saying you're flaunting. I laughed sharp. I posted one photo, I said. One. Ethan didn't argue. He sounded exhausted already. They want to talk to you, he said. I stared out at the ocean. Why now, I asked. Ethan went quiet for a second. Then he said, because now it looks like you didn't fail. There it was. The truth. 2 days after we got home, my phone rang. Mom. Her name on my screen felt like a ghost rising. I didn't answer right away. Marcus looked at me. You don't have to, he said. I swallowed. I want to hear what she says, I whispered. I answered. Lauren, my mother said, too sweet. Hi, honey. The sweetness made my skin crawl. I didn't give her warmth. I just said, what do you want? A tiny pause, like she didn't expect me to skip the pleasantries. Oh, she said, soft laugh. We've been thinking about you. I stayed silent. She pushed on. We miss you, she said, and we haven't handled things perfectly. Not handled things perfectly. Like refusing my wedding was a scheduling conflict. My father's voice came on the line, louder, like he couldn't stand being out of control. We need to move forward, he said. Move forward. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just a demand for the next chapter, with them still in charge of the narrative. My mother chimed back in. We want to see you, she said, and we want to meet Marcus properly. I felt my jaw tighten. You already met him, I said. You met him when I introduced him as the man I loved. You rejected him. My mother did a little sigh like I was being dramatic. We don't need to relive it, she said. We just need to reconnect. Reconnect like we'd lost Wi-Fi. Then she said the thing that made my stomach turn. We'd love to come by, she said. See your home. There it was. Not see you. See your home. My father added, and I'd like to talk to Marcus. Man to man. I almost laughed. The audacity. They didn't want to meet my husband as family. They wanted to assess him like an asset. I said, why now? My mother sounded offended. Because you're our daughter, she said. Because we love you. I let the silence sit. My father filled it. And because we've realized you're doing fine, he said, like he was granting a pass. So maybe we can all be adults. Adults. The people who refused a wedding based on skin color wanted to be adults, now that the life looked expensive. I said I'll think about it. My mother's sweetness snapped back into place instantly. Good, she said. We'll be in touch. When I hung up, my hands were shaking. Marcus watched me carefully. They didn't apologize, he said. No, I whispered. They want access, he said. Yes, I said, and my voice sounded like it belonged to someone older. That night, Ethan texted, "Please don't hate me." My stomach sank. "What did you do?" He replied, "I showed them your posts. I thought it would shut them up." I stared at the message. Then I typed, "So now they want back in." Ethan answered immediately, "Yes." And Lauren, "There's more." I felt my chest tighten. "What?" Ethan hesitated, then wrote, "Dad already used your name at the bank." My vision went sharp. Used my name how? Ethan called instead. His voice was low and frantic. "He's in trouble," he said. "Like real trouble. He took out a loan for some investment and it went bad. And he's behind. And he told the bank he has family support." My stomach dropped. "Family support," I repeated. Ethan swallowed audibly. "He implied you and Marcus would help," he said. "He didn't sign your name, but he used Marcus's reputation. He said you were both willing and the bank already knew about Marcus's resources." My skin went cold. "So he lied," I said. "Yes," Ethan whispered, "and Mom went along with it. They thought if the bank believed it, you'd have to do it." I stared at the wall like it could hold me up. They weren't calling because they missed me. They were calling because they'd already tried to cash me in. That was the moment I stopped feeling sad. Sadness is what you feel when you still believe there's something to repair. This was something else. This was a door locking. I said, "What exactly did he tell them?" Ethan exhaled hard. He said, "You and Marcus are backing a refinance." He said, "You're involved." My heart pounded. "They're using my marriage like collateral," I said. Ethan's voice cracked. "I'm sorry," he said. I didn't know he'd go that far. I believed him, mostly. Then I asked the question I didn't want to ask. "Did you help him?" I said. Silence. Then Ethan whispered, "I gave him your new address." My stomach clenched. "Ethan," I said low. "I didn't think," he rushed. "He kept saying he just wanted to send a letter. He kept saying you wouldn't answer calls. He made it sound normal." I closed my eyes. It wasn't normal. It was a leak. Marcus was sitting across from me at the table, listening. Calm. Still. He didn't interrupt. He let me handle my brother. I said, "Do you understand what you did?" Ethan sounded like he was crying quietly. "Yes," he said. "I do now." I took a breath. "Okay," I said. "Here's what's going to happen. I'm not sending them money. I'm not co-signing any loans or finance agreements, and I'm not meeting them privately. And I'm not pretending they didn't refuse my wedding." Ethan whispered, "Please. They're desperate." I almost laughed. "Desperate people show you who they really are." I said, "If they want a relationship, they put it in writing." Ethan went quiet. "What?" he said. I said, "A letter. A written acknowledgement. Why they refused my wedding. What they said. What they believed. And what changed their minds." Ethan inhaled sharply. "They'll never do that," he said. "Then they'll never have me," I said. I ended the call gently, but I didn't soften the boundary. I told Marcus they're going to escalate. Marcus nodded once. "Then we get ahead of them," he said. He didn't say it with anger. He said it like a man who'd handled opportunists before. That week, my mother texted me again. "We'd love to come by Sunday. We can bring dessert. Tell Marcus we said hello." Dessert, like sugar could erase a wound. An hour later, another text. "We also need to discuss something important. It's best in person. Important." I didn't reply, because I already knew what important meant. Money, control, access. Instead, I started planning something that didn't look like revenge on the surface, but would feel like it. I decided if my parents were going to treat my life like a status ladder, then I was going to let them climb one rung and fall off in front of witnesses, not with shouting, with structure. About a month later, Marcus and I hosted an anniversary celebration. Not a vow renewal, not a redo, not a redemption event for anyone. Just a celebration. We rented a beautiful venue with warm lighting and a terrace overlooking the city, a place that felt calm, expensive, and unbothered. We invited friends, colleagues, a few people from Marcus's network, people who respected him, not because of money, but because he'd built something real. Marcus's mother came. His aunties, his cousins, people who laughed loudly and hugged tightly and didn't make love feel like a performance. We planned it carefully. No speeches, no microfones, no surprises. Just music, food, and the quiet kind of power that comes from being secure. A few days before the event, I called my mother. She answered on the second ring, breathless. "Lauren," she said, too sweet again. "Honey." I kept my voice calm. "We're having an anniversary celebration this Saturday," I said. "You can come if you want." Her excitement sounded immediate. "Oh," she said, "we'd love to. Of course we would. We've been wanting to reconnect." I paused. "If you come," I said, "you come as guests, not as honored parents. There will be no speeches, no staged photos, and no requests." Her sweetness faltered. "What do you mean requests?" she said. I said, "I mean you're not using my marriage to solve your problems." Silence. Then my father's voice cut in. "I don't like your tone," he said. I almost smiled. "I'm not asking what you like," I said. "I'm telling you the terms." My mother snapped, "We're your parents." I said, "You weren't my parents at my wedding." Her breath caught. My father muttered something under his breath, then said, "We're coming." Not as a question, as a statement. I said, "Fine. Be respectful." Then I hung up. Marcus watched me. "You did good," he said. I exhaled. "It feels like I'm about to step into a trap," I admitted. Marcus nodded. "They're the ones walking into it," he said. "You're just finally letting them experience consequences." That night, Marcus made a few calls, not to intimidate anyone, to protect us. He told his closest friends and colleagues one simple thing. No business conversations, no money conversations, no favors. If anyone tries, redirect them to me, politely, firmly. He also had the venue manager briefed. If my parents tried to create a scene, they'd be escorted out quietly. I didn't want drama. I wanted control. Saturday night, the venue filled with people who felt like a real community. The kind of room where you could breathe. Marcus and I greeted guests. We laughed. We took a few photos. We lived. Then, 20 minutes after the start time, my parents walked in. They didn't walk in like they were happy. They walked in like they were reclaiming property. My mother's eyes scanned the room immediately, hunting for status, for faces that looked important, for proof she hadn't been left behind. My father's posture was stiff, like he was bracing for judgment. Ethan trailed behind them, pale and tense. I walked toward them with Marcus beside me, not in front, not behind. Beside. My mother's smile stretched wide. "Lauren," she said, arms open. I didn't step into it. I offered my cheek. Her arms hovered awkwardly, then she adjusted fast, kissing the air near my face like nothing happened. My father cleared his throat. "Nice place," he said. Marcus extended his hand. My father hesitated. Just a beat too long. Then he took Marcus's hand and squeezed hard, like dominance lived in pressure. Marcus didn't react. He just smiled politely. "Glad you came," Marcus said. My mother looked Marcus up and down, then smiled. "It's so nice to finally meet you properly," she said. Marcus nodded. "Yes." She looked past him, scanning again. "Wow," she said. "There are a lot of people here." I said yes. My father asked, "Who are these people?" I let the question sit. Then I said, "Friends?" My mother leaned closer, voice low. "Can we talk privately?" she asked. I smiled slightly. "Not tonight," I said. Her smile froze for half a second. Then she regained it. Of course, she said. Ethan edged closer, looking like he wanted to disappear into the floor. You look great, he whispered to me. I nodded. Thanks. Marcus gave him a calm nod too. Not warm, not hostile, just present. We moved on. I watched my parents try to find their place. They didn't know how to exist in a room where they weren't central. They didn't know how to be normal guests. They needed to be relevant. My mother drifted toward a group of women in designer dresses and inserted herself into their conversation like she belonged there, laughing too loudly, asking too many questions, dropping my father's name like anyone cared. My father went to the bar and started scanning the room, assessing, calculating. At one point, my mother tried to take a photo of me and Marcus. She raised her phone with a proud smile like she'd earned the moment. I didn't smile back. I turned slightly, just enough to make the photo useless. Not dramatic, not rude, just a quiet denial of access. Her face tightened. Then she lowered the phone and pretended to be texting. I felt something inside me settle. That was slap one. Later, Marcus's mother stood near the center of the room with a glass in her hand. She didn't tap it loudly. She didn't demand attention. The room quieted naturally because people respected her. She smiled and looked at Marcus, then at me. I'm grateful, she said, voice warm. Grateful for the way you two love each other. Grateful for the way you show up. And grateful for the home you've built that makes people feel safe. Safe. That word hit me. Not because it was dramatic, because it was the opposite of what my mother had been implying about my marriage. Marcus's mother continued, Marcus, you've always been steady. And Lauren, sweetheart, you've always been strong. You found each other, and I'm proud of you. The applause was immediate, warm. My mother's smile stayed glued on, but her eyes looked glassy and sharp at the same time. My father stared forward, jaw clenched. They were sitting there, watching another woman honor me publicly while they were invisible. Not punished. Replaced. That was slap two. Then the third slap came sooner than I expected. I saw my father approach one of Marcus's colleagues, a man I recognized from a few dinners. Quiet wealth, quiet authority. The kind of person my father would have tried to impress his whole life. My father leaned in, smiling too hard. I watched his hands move, the practiced charm, the man-to-man posture. Marcus leaned toward me. He's going to ask, he said quietly. I swallowed. Let him. We watched. My father spoke for a minute, then I saw him gesture toward Marcus with a little nod, like Marcus was a credential. The colleague's expression cooled. He nodded politely, then stepped away. My father stood there for a second, blinking. Then he scanned the room and his eyes locked on me. He walked toward me fast. My mother followed, her smile gone now. Ethan trailed behind them like a hostage. My father stopped in front of me, voice low. We need to talk, he said. I didn't move. Not tonight, I said. His eyes flashed. Now. Marcus stepped slightly closer, calm and present. My mother snapped. This is family. Marcus's voice stayed even. Lauren decides what's family, he said. My mother's face tightened. She turned to me, voice sharp. You're making us look bad, she hissed. I almost laughed. You did that yourselves, I said. My father leaned closer. You invited us here to humiliate us, he said. I held his gaze. I invited you here to celebrate my marriage, I said. You showed up trying to cash it in. My mother's eyes widened. How dare you, she whispered. Then she tried to soften, instantly, like flipping a switch. Lauren, she said, voice trembling with fake hurt, we just want to reconnect. We just want our daughter. I stared at her. You refused my wedding because of my husband's skin color, I said. Say it. Her face froze. My father's eyes flicked around the room, checking who could hear. Not ashamed, afraid of witnesses. I lowered my voice but didn't soften it. You don't get to rewrite it because you saw our lifestyle, I said. My mother's mouth opened, then shut. My father said, We're trying to move forward. I nodded once. No, I said. You're trying to move up. My mother's eyes flashed hot. "We need help," she hissed, and the truth slipped out before she could catch it. "Your father is under pressure." There it was. Not love. Help. My father shot her a look like she'd failed. I looked at them both. "I know what you did at the bank," I said. My father's face drained. Ethan's breath caught behind them. My mother went stiff. "You talked to Ethan," she snapped. I smiled slightly. "You tried to use my name," I said. "You tried to use my husband's." My father's voice went cold. "We did what we had to do," he said. I stared at him. So he wasn't sorry. He was justified. That was the moment my last bit of doubt died. I said, "You're guests tonight. Be polite or leave." My mother's voice rose slightly. "We are your parents." I nodded. "You chose not to be," I said. Then I turned away. Not a dramatic exit. Not a scene. Just a boundary. They stood there for a beat, humiliated in the quietest way. Then they walked back into the room wearing stiff smiles like masks. That was slap 3. If you've ever had family try to rewrite what they did because it didn't work out the way they planned, tell me in the comments. And if you're watching from somewhere tonight, tell me where. I didn't realize how many people had lived through some version of this until strangers started messaging me. The party ended beautifully. People hugged us goodbye. They thanked us. They made plans. They laughed. Marcus's mother hugged me tight before she left. "You did the right thing," she whispered. Don't doubt that. When the room emptied and the lights dimmed, I felt tired in a clean way. Not drained. Just done. Then my phone buzzed. "My mother, this was unacceptable. We need to talk tomorrow." Unacceptable, like she was my boss. My father texted too. "You embarrassed your family. You're being cruel." Cruel. That word almost made me laugh. They refused my wedding. They planted rumors that I was unsafe. They tried to sabotage vendors. They used my name with a bank. And I was cruel because I didn't let them take a photo. Marcus read the texts and shook his head. "They're still trying to put you under them," he said. The next morning Ethan called. He didn't say hello. "They're spiraling," he said. I said, "Tell me what happened." He exhaled hard. "Dad tried to talk to Marcus's people," he said. "He tried to pitch some refinance thing. He tried to make it sound like Marcus was already backing it." My stomach tightened. "Who did he talk to?" I asked. Ethan sounded ashamed. "Someone Marcus knows," he said. And that guy already knew not to engage. He shut Dad down, politely. "But, Lauren, Dad's furious. He thinks Marcus set him up." I almost smiled. My father thought boundaries were traps because he only understood relationships as leverage. "What else?" I asked. Ethan hesitated. Then he said, "Lauren, they're behind on their mortgage. The loan payment is due, and the bank is asking for documentation now." Documentation. There it was. The part you can't charm your way out of. "What did Dad actually tell them?" I asked. Ethan's voice cracked slightly. "He told them you'd help," he said. "He told them Marcus would provide support. He implied you were already involved." I closed my eyes. "And now they want to make it true," I said. "Yes," Ethan whispered. I felt my chest tighten, but I didn't fall apart. I got clear. "Ethan," I said, "I'm setting a condition." He swallowed. "Okay, if they want any relationship with me," I said, "they write it down." Ethan went silent. "What do you mean?" he asked. I said, "A letter. A written acknowledgement. Exactly why they refused my wedding, what they said, and what changed their minds." Ethan let out a shaky breath. "They'll never do that," he said. "Then they'll never have me," I said. He sounded desperate. "Lauren," he whispered, "they're still Mom and Dad." I paused. "No," I said gently. "They're not. Not in the way that matters." Then I added, "And Ethan, do not give them anything else about my life. No address, no schedules, no details. Not even out of pity." His voice broke. "I'm sorry," he said. "I really am." I believed him. And I also knew sorry wasn't enough to undo the leak, so I handled it like an adult, with paperwork. I drafted the condition and emailed it to my parents. 1 page. No insults. No sermon. No emotional performance. If you want a relationship with me, you will provide a written acknowledgement stating why you refused to attend my wedding, what you said, and what you believed at the time. You will also state what changed your mind. No vague language. No, we were worried. No, we didn't understand. Name it. Until then, there will be no contact. Any attempt to use my name, Marcus's name, or our reputation for financial benefit will be treated as fraud and defamation, and we will respond accordingly. I hit send. My mother replied within 2 hours. Lauren, this is outrageous. We are your parents. We will not be humiliated. We love you. We want to move forward. If you are willing to be reasonable, we can talk. Humiliated. Again. Not sorry. Afraid of being seen. My father replied 10 minutes later. We will not participate in your little game. If you want to cut us off, that's on you. Don't come crying when this marriage falls apart. Marriage falls apart. They still wanted my life to collapse so they could stand proud. I stared at the emails and felt something in me go quiet. They weren't going to admit it, not even to get their daughter back, not even because they needed help, because admitting it would mean facing themselves. And they didn't want love badly enough to do that. That should have been the end. It wasn't. 3 days later, I got a message from a woman I barely knew. A friend of my mother's, someone who'd always been polite in that fake way. Hey, Lauren. This is awkward, but your mom mentioned you and Marcus are helping your parents restructure some debt. She said you're backing them. I just wanted to say it's very generous. My stomach dropped. They were telling people I was funding them. I called Ethan immediately. He answered, voice strained. They're telling people you're helping, I said. He exhaled sharply. I tried to stop them, he said. Dad said it's basically true because it will be once you calm down. I stared at the wall. So they were lying now, in public, to pressure me into making it true. Marcus heard my side of the conversation and stood up. He didn't look angry. He looked surgical. Okay, he said to me quietly. Now we end the story they're telling. He called his attorney. Not to threaten. To document. A formal cease and desist letter went out the next day. It was polite, professional, ruthless. It stated that my parents had no authorization to represent any financial support from us, that any such statements were false, that any continued use of our names would be treated as defamation and potentially fraud. It also went to one other place, the bank, because if my father had implied family backing, the bank needed to know the backing did not exist. That's what my parents never understood about people like Marcus. He didn't scream. He didn't posture. He just made the consequences real. My mother called me the moment she received the letter. She was screaming before I even said hello. How dare you send lawyers after us? She shouted. How dare you? I kept my voice low. You used my name, I said. You used my husband's. You lied. We are your family, she snapped. We can say what we want. No, I said. You can't. My father got on the line, voice icy. You're going to ruin us, he said. I paused. Then I said, you ruined yourselves, and you tried to drag me in as a life raft. My mother's voice went sharp and ugly. This is what he's done to you, she hissed. He turned you against us. I felt a clean heat rise in my chest. No, I said. You did that. The day you refused my wedding because of his skin. Silence. Then my father said, Lo, you'll regret this. I said, I regret thinking love would fix prejudice. Then I ended the call. After that, I blocked them. Numbers, emails, social media. Not as revenge, as a boundary. Ethan came over a week later. Alone. He looked like someone who hadn't slept. He sat at my kitchen island and stared at his hands like he didn't know what to do with them. They're in trouble, he whispered. I didn't ask. I let him talk. The bank is asking questions now, he said. Dad told them you were backing him and now they have a letter saying you're not. They're not happy. I stared at Ethan. Questions like what? I asked. Ethan swallowed. Like misrepresentation, he said. That word made my stomach drop. Misrepresentation wasn't gossip. It wasn't church whispers. It was institutional. Ethan continued, voice cracking. Dad's trying to act like it was a misunderstanding, he said. He's telling them you were supposed to sign something and you changed your mind. I almost laughed. My father was trying to rewrite reality with a bank. Banks don't care about your pride. They care about documents. Ethan wiped his face quickly, embarrassed by the emotion. They're blaming you, he said. Of course they are, I said. He looked up at me, eyes red. Lauren, he whispered, I didn't know it would get this serious. I softened, just a little. I know, I said, but this is what they do. They push until something pushes back harder. Ethan nodded slowly. Then he said, quieter. They're also getting kicked out of things. Kicked out of things, I repeated. He swallowed. Dad got removed from the club committee, he said. People are distancing. Not because of politics, because he lied. Because he name-dropped Marcus and got caught. I exhaled slowly. That was the social death my parents feared more than being decent. Ethan looked miserable. They're humiliated, he said. I held his gaze. They should be, I said calmly. But they still won't write the letter, will they? Ethan shook his head. No, he whispered. Mom says it would make them look racist. I stared at him. They are racist, I said. Ethan flinched, then nodded. I know, he said. I know. I didn't want it to be true. That sentence broke my heart more than anything my parents had said. Because Ethan wasn't cruel. He was trapped. And now he was finally seeing the bars. I reached across the island and took his hand. You can still have me, I said. But you can't keep delivering their messages. And you can't keep leaking my life to them. Not ever again. Ethan nodded, crying quietly now. I won't, he said. I swear. A month passed. Then 2. My parents tried to contact me through other people. Old friends. Distant relatives. People who had no idea what they were walking into. My aunt messaged me. Your mother is crying every day. She just wants her daughter. Be the bigger person. I replied with one line. If she's sorry, she knows the condition. Then I stopped responding. The condition didn't change, because the condition wasn't about punishing them. It was about truth. And they refused truth. That's what made everything else easy. Then came the final slap, the one that wasn't planned, but felt inevitable. Ethan called me one night, voice shaking. They're selling the house, he said. I sat up. What? I said. Ethan exhaled hard. They can't refinance, he said. The bank won't work with Dad like that anymore. There's some kind of investigation now, not like police, but like internal. Dad's terrified. I closed my eyes. My father had tried to leverage my marriage as a prop. Now the system was doing what it always does to people who lie on paper. It tightened. Ethan continued. They're telling everyone it's your fault. I laughed once, dry. Of course, I said. They're saying you abandoned them, he said. That you got rich and turned your back. I felt my chest tighten, not with guilt, but with disgust. Did they tell anyone why they didn't come to my wedding? I asked. Ethan went quiet. Then he whispered, no. Of course they didn't. They wanted the benefits of being my parents without the accountability of acting like it. Ethan's voice cracked. I'm sorry, he said again. I softened. I know, I said. You don't have to carry their choices. He sniffed. They still think you'll cave, he whispered. They think once you hear they're losing the house, you'll show up. I stared out into the dark. No, I said. That's not how this ends. Ethan whispered, What do you want me to do? I took a slow breath. Nothing, I said. Just stop letting them pretend. If anyone asks, tell the truth. Tell them they refused my wedding because of Marcus's skin, and tell them they only reached out when they saw my life. That's it. Ethan went quiet. Then he said, softly, Okay. A week later, I got a message from the same churchwoman who'd messaged me before. Hi, Lauren. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I just heard the truth about why your parents weren't at your wedding. I'm embarrassed I ever repeated anything. I hope you're okay." I stared at it for a long time. My mother had tried to smear me as unstable, unsafe, controlled. And now the truth was slipping out anyway, not through my mouth, but through the cracks they couldn't seal. That was the quiet part of justice people don't understand. You can control the narrative for a while, but you can't control it forever. Not when your behavior leaves fingerprints everywhere. My parents never wrote the letter. Not when they were desperate. Not when their social life shrank. Not when the house went on the market. Not when Ethan stopped covering for them and started telling the truth. They never once looked at what they did and said, "We were wrong," so they stayed outside the door. Exactly where they chose to be because of sheer stubbornness. And in the end, the cruelest part wasn't losing them. The cruelest part was realizing I'd been grieving people who never existed. I'd been waiting for parents who could love without conditions. But my parents didn't love like that. They loved like investors. They loved when the brand looked good. They loved when the outcome made them feel superior. And when they couldn't control the outcome, they called it betrayal. Marcus never asked me to forgive them. He never asked me to reconcile. He just built a life with me that made forgiveness unnecessary. Because we weren't sitting around hoping for their approval anymore. We were living. We hosted dinners in our home, and the laughter felt easy. We traveled. We loved. We became the kind of couple that didn't have to perform stability because we were stable. Ethan came over sometimes, alone, quiet, healing in his own way. One night, he sat at my table and said, voice small, "I used to think love meant loyalty no matter what." I watched him. "And now?" I asked. He swallowed. "Now I think love is telling the truth," he said. I nodded slowly. "Yes," I said. "And love is not using people." Ethan's eyes filled again. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. "I used to think you were the problem." That one hit me. I didn't react dramatically. I just let it sit. Because that was the last lie our family had to let go of. That I was the problem. I wasn't. I was just the one who stopped pretending. Months later, Marcus and I were sitting on the terrace at dusk, city lights blinking on like a slow pulse. He looked at me and asked, gently, "Do you ever miss them?" I thought about it. I miss the idea sometimes. The fantasy of parents who could show up with love instead of judgment. But the real people. The ones who refused my wedding, planted rumors, sabotaged vendors, used my name at a bank, and tried to crawl back in when they saw a Ferrari. No. I shook my head. "I miss what I should have had," I said. "I don't miss what I had." Marcus nodded, like he understood completely. Then he kissed my forehead and said, "Good, because you're not going back." And I realized something in that quiet moment. My parents didn't lose me because I married a black man. They lost me because they proved their love was conditional. They lost me because they thought my marriage was a bargaining chip. They lost me because they refused the truth even when the truth was the only bridge left, and I didn't have to punish them. Life did it. The only thing I did was stop catching them when they fell. My name is Lauren, and this is what happened when I was pushed beyond restraint. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this story.